Welcome. Welcome to probably one of the most ridiculous frequencies I have ever allowed myself to serve. And I have served but play frequencies. Like this one is actually more confronting than all of that for me. And the reason is because my inner teen doesn't really want to be seen here. There's a good chance that your inner teen doesn't either. And you might be wondering, like, what the fuck does the inner teen have anything to do with money stuff? And allow me to explain. See, as we're growing up, our inner child is responsible for things like wonder, joy, innocence. And then as we get older, our teenage years are for what? Stereotypically, rebellion, right? It's the one who doesn't want to follow the rules, is trying to figure shit out. And that orientation to the teenager being a problem kind of fucks us up as we're adults, because our teen years are also when we start to establish our personal relationship to resources. When we're kids, all we do is just regurgitate what our parents are saying. But as we get older, we start having our own opinions. And not all of those opinions about money, wealth, economics are true. Most of them are distortions because it's telephone tag with our friends and what they think. We don't actually have a sense of autonomy for ourselves yet, but we're still in this figuring out stage. See, the inner teen is the maturity of the inner child. So what once was wonder is now simply curiosity. What was once joy is now pleasure, mostly hedonistic pleasure. But once was innocence is now disillusionment. Because a teenager is responsible for finding out that life isn't a fantasy. So when they find out mom and dad aren't going to always be there, maybe you were the teenager who got taken off mom and dad's phone bill right away. Maybe the teenager who was responsible for bringing in their own money. Or maybe you came from the household where your inner teenager was sheltered and told nothing at all. Doesn't really matter what your inner teen experienced, because that is actually what set the foundations of your adulthood and your relationship to wealth. Problem with that is that our inner teens have no idea what it requires to be a fully resourced adult. Now, I want you just to take a couple moments and really sit with yourself. What would it mean to be fully resourced? What does that mean to me? And you can let me know in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, you can let me know in the comments. What does it mean to be fully resourced? I'll give you guys a couple moments. Because right now, as an adult, you can probably feel the places where you don't feel resourced at all. Where you feel lack, scarcity, fear. Right? So fully resourced means to put my energy and attention on the places where it's most needed. Great. What else? Feels like independence and self-sufficiency. Great. To feel safe and grounded in my body, to know I have enough money to support myself if I couldn't work for some time. Great. Feels balanced. Nervous system relaxed and being present. Being in alignment in all four places in my life feels nourished. I think the 4 was a spelling error. Yeah. Fully resourced. A body level sense of I'm okay. Sense in the body, a sense of being able to engage with my life without having to burn emergency resources, bodily or financial. It's really great. Thank you. To feel I have access to all parts of me. Great. So much space, a relaxed nervous system, and a lot of responsibility. Perfect. Thank you for the honesty there. Feeling whole, well fed, and nourished within all bodies. Great. So I've been sitting with this one for the last couple weeks because I've got so many different programs that are running, and all of them are working me as the container holder in various ways. I was fighting my morning wake up and feeling depleted for most of the day. I was fighting cooking for myself and feeling undernourished. I wasn't willing to spend the money that was in my bank account. There was all of these things that were happening around me, and I couldn't understand it. Why did I feel so under-resourced with someone who's truly in the practice of being reverent and responsible for my resources? And what I realized was that my inner teen was still believing that if I had more, I'll feel better. If this, then that. It was something that when I was 15 started. See, I didn't grow up with money. My parents, neither one graduated high school. My mom went back to go to school, but she couldn't get hired in the field she studied for. So she worked a minimum wage job at a liquidation world that sold discount food and clothing. My dad was dyslexic and couldn't pass the certification bar for him to be a mechanic. So he worked under the table as an uncertified mechanic, being paid half the salary that he would have been if he was just able to pass. We lived rurally without running water till I was 13. My life is not the epitome of silver spoon. And so when I turned 15, I realized very quickly that I was going to have to be extremely self-sufficient. That if I wanted my life to be good, I would have to hyper-conform, be a good student, people please for my bosses, be willing to do absolutely anything, and I quote, to change the color of my collar. I wanted more than anything to not be lower class, whatever that meant. I wanted more than anything to be seen as equal to the girls I went to school with whose parents could afford dance class. And there was always this hard reality that I was never going to be. See, when I was 15, I also got very disillusioned very quickly because I realized mom and dad aren't going to be able to afford the things that I want. So I'm going to have to pay for it myself. So immediately I could see the difference between my friends and I and realized, fuck, I'm always going to feel disadvantaged here. I'm always going to feel 10 steps behind. I'm always going to feel like the system's up against me. I'm always going to feel like a broke ass bitch. So let me be tighter on myself. Let me be harder on myself. Let me get everything together and try not to show the world how resentful I am at it. So I got really good at school. I made sure I brown-nosed every teacher so they wouldn't know the truth of who I was. I rubbed elbows with the upper echelons of society all the way through university because I was deeply ashamed of my own roots. My inner teen didn't like that my grandfather literally owned a trailer park. My inner teen did not like that she felt disadvantaged. My inner teen did not like that she had to work 10 times harder than anybody else just to get recognized. My inner teen knew she was destined to be wealthy and had no fucking clue how to do it. So as I got older, I got more entitled. I got more self-righteous. I got mean. I made sure that I stepped on whoever I needed to get to the top so that people can be like, wow, you've come so far. It's so young. And yet I was still so under-resourced, and it didn't matter how much money I was making. It didn't matter the accolades. It didn't matter the status, because inside I was dying. When I was 24, I had a nervous breakdown. turning 24. I was 23. That landed me in the hospital. They put me in a mandatory withdrawal from university until I could prove that I could handle all of it. Working 3 jobs, putting myself through school, being the International Sorority Sister of the Year, doing all of the things that I thought I needed to be doing to get my life further, to get my resume to be fatter. And I was so disconnected from my own heart. I was building a life I didn't even want. Building a life I didn't even want to be living in. And yet I had all the resources. I had the money. I had the energy and I had the time. Well, debatable. So if I had all these resources, why did I still feel so fucking empty? Why did I feel unfulfilled? How did I feel undernourished in living my life when I had everything I was supposed to be having? It's because the resources aren't what make you resourced. Just like having food in your fridge isn't what makes you fed. Being resourced is an active practice that our inner teen has no fucking clue what to do with because they were never shown. They were never given the ability to live and learn because for whatever reason, we decided our inner teen needed to get it right. They needed to get this right the first time. They weren't allowed to fall down, get up. And it doesn't matter which side of the spectrum you were on, whether you came from a wealthy upbringing where now you're upholding the status of the family so you can't make mistakes. Or you came from an unwealthy family and you can't make mistakes because your survival depends on it. See, our inner teen, I love them so fucking much. And this is also often why people hate bringing me their inner teen, because they know that I'm not going to hate them or get mad at them for their entitlement. I'm like, oh yeah, you got some entitlement there. And it's confronting because our inner teens are so used to getting like beat on, right? Everything that they do is wrong. So therefore they've always got to get it right. And really it's like, hey baby, you can learn here. You can grow here. So if we never learn how to resource as a verb ourselves, then we are constantly going to be with excess and not actually realize it. See, when I say, what does it mean to be fully resourced? I don't just mean money. I mean everything that goes into making your life. Do you have the food you need to eat well? But do you actually go to eat well? Do you have the amount of sleep you need, but do you actually allow yourself to rest? Do you have the amount of connection you need, but actually allow yourself to go connect? Because right now you have resources, but your inner teen is too scared to see them. It's too scared to see them as sufficient because there's actually a deep fear that it's never going to be enough. When you were 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and we're going to include 20-year-olds as inner teens as well. But those are the age you learn to survive, even though you're not an adult yet. You start making adult decisions, knowing limited information about what you actually need. We are asking students to go into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a degree they don't even want, for a field of study they don't give a fuck about. Why? Because there's fear that they won't survive otherwise. It doesn't work that way though. Because if you are constantly scared of surviving, then you are going to also manifest every situation that forces you to. And the problem is when our inner teens are the ones busy running our life to make sure that we're getting the job, we're getting the status, we're getting the money and doing all of these funny, fantastical things, they don't get taken care of because they're just fucking teenagers. Where's the adult? Where's our adult being like, hey, honey, why don't you go to that party on Friday night? I've got the bills. Hey, sweetheart, why don't you just go to the gym? I've got dinner. We make our inner teens responsible for everything and then simultaneously punish them for it instead of saying, hey, baby, you don't need to do that. That's not what you're responsible for. That is not what's required of you. And listen, I understand that maybe in your life when you were a teenager, you were responsible for too much, or maybe you weren't given the responsibility or the trust to expand upon for yourself. We can forgive that reality. But the problem is that right now you're an adult still operating from the wounding that your inner teen created, simply because they didn't know any better. And I think that's really like the medicine here, right? We can't expect a 16-year-old to make adult decisions and then get mad at them if it's not quite the right one. So am I angry at myself for putting myself through a university degree that I ended up dropping out of because I was literally in a hospital? Nope, I'm not mad at her. I'm not mad at her at all because fuck yeah, she was ballsy. She was ruthless, but she was ballsy. And I've got so much love for that girl. She was secretive. She was kind of manipulative too. But she did what she knew to do. And what she knew to do wasn't always the truest thing, but it kept me alive. Brought me to some close brinks for sure, but it did keep me alive. But maybe it's time I let her be a teenager. Maybe it's time that I let my teenager experience the little responsibility that she's actually supposed to be responsible for, like brushing her teeth every goddamn day. And not make her so responsible for making sure that I have a roof over my head. But let my adult actually step in. Let the me that is whole step in, not the compartmentalized side, not the little members of my committee, but the wholeness of me come together and be like, okay, what do I need here? Because I can assure you, if your inner teen's not having any fun, you are under-resourced in a land of enjoyment. Now you might want to look at that and be like, well, what does my inner teen really thought that crack cocaine on the weekends was fun? Maybe look at that. And your inner teen, that's what they're here for. They're the hedonistic, selfish. They want life to feel good. But what ends up happening is we often go, okay, well, I'm just going to buy whatever I can to shut my inner teen up. Kind of like a sugar daddy or a dad who doesn't really care about their kids. Mom who doesn't really care about their kids. That's what it's like. I'm going to buy all the things to shut her the fuck up, like the Louis bag or the Timberland shoes or the really good earrings. I'm going to buy all of the things. And I'm going to buy those before I make sure she has a roof over her head. I'm going to buy all of these things before I make sure she has food in her belly. I'm going to buy all of these things to shut her the hell up because she's so bratty and entitled, but I'm not actually going to take care of her or him. That doesn't work because that's not actually love. It's compensating. It's compensating for the love you're not actually giving her or him. It's compensating for the care you're not actually practicing. Because I can guarantee you that if you actually practice taking care of not just your inner child, because our inner children, they get abandoned, but they often get more attention than the inner teen. And if you look at family dynamics, you can also see why the inner teen is so pissed off. You're like, hello, where's my attention? I'm going through puberty over here. Who gives a fuck if Sally got a note at school? I have pimples on my back. No, but honey, you're older. You should know better. You should get it. We're like, I'm still a child. I'm just a bigger child. Right? So all of this resentment starts building and then bow breaks. And it almost seems as though they're like unhealable. They're just so deeply wounded that there's no way you can console a teenager. And that's just simply not true, because the deepest thing you could possibly do is just be in relationship with them. Being fully resourced is not a teenager's responsibility. It's yours. So take a couple moments and really look at the extent of your life. Where do you have the resources, but you're not allowing yourself to be nourished by them? Where are you allowing the food in your fridge to go bad before you eat it? Where are you allowing it to go weeks and weeks without connecting to your friends? But you'll scroll on social media for any form of connection. Where are you allowing yourself not to experience gratitude when someone's bought you dinner? It might seem nuanced, but so much of our orientation to wealth is simply just distorted inner teen stuff. And it's really surprising to me that everyone's talking about like, oh, I'm going to heal my money wounds and like not talk about the inner teen. When was your first job? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. 14, 18, 12, 16, 14, 15, 18. And yet somehow you're supposed to heal your wounding around making income and being employed without looking at that? Huh. Because I'll tell you, my first boss was totally like never there. And so I always had to work really hard to get noticed by my managers. But it was like a job I didn't even want. And so it was like, oh, I'm so good at this, but I don't even want to be doing it. And so that kind of carried out through like every job I've ever had. Get really good at the job, but don't care enough about the job to like have gratitude for it. Guys, I was an accountant. I got really good in accounting, even though I went drunk to a final. I should not be good at accounting, but I am. But do I care about accounting? Because that all started with my inner teen who related to employment with like, I'll just get really good. Job security. That's what it was. If I'm just so good, they can't afford to fire me, which literally, if you look at every job I've ever had, that was the thing that carried me through. I'm too good at my job for them to fire me. So I could be an asshole. I could be a prick. I could be demanding. I could be entitled. It's going to cost them too much to replace me. And I tell you, this is literally every single job, the thing that has followed me through. How did you relate to employment, to making money? Was it, fuck, I'm working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and now I don't get to have fun. So therefore work is not fun. Work takes away from my enjoyment of life. Was it, oh, this is going to get me somewhere. This is going to look so good on my resume. So then everything you do is to look good for a future state. I had to be the best and earn more than my friends. So then on the months that you're not earning the same amount as your friends, oh no, my entire self-worth and identity is falling apart. It all started when we were teenagers. And like, good. Problem became when we fell down and we didn't get back up. Or we didn't allow ourselves to explore different ways of relating to work. Now, how about when you paid your first bill? When did you come off your parents' cell phone bill? Now, this one might be a little tender because some of you guys might still be on your mom's cell phone bill. Right? But feel into the first bill you had under your own name. And maybe you've been avoiding it because that's a little scary. That's a little too adult. Right? 22, 18 or 19, 17, right? It's a little bit older. Like I got to be responsible for money. This is why I'm like early 20s is still in like the inner teen for me. Our brains don't fully develop till we're 25 anyways. So like that's still teenager life, right? So you get closer to adulthood and now you're off your parents' bills. Then what did it feel like? Was it fuck? How am I going to make sure I pay this every month? Or like, you know what? I don't have to pay it every month. Mom and dad's still going to help me. Because I can guarantee the way that your inner teen related to your income, your expenses, savings, even debt is still operating today. It's still operating today. And remember, the inner teen knows nothing about fully resourcing an adult life. So you obviously end up short. And then you beat yourself up like, oh my God, my life is falling apart. How am I supposed to make it? Well, maybe let your inner teen go to a party on Friday night and make them dinner before they go. Maybe let your inner teen sleep in on a Saturday and make sure the rent's paid on Monday. Part of taking care of our inner teen is allowing them the fun, the joy, the curiosity, the ability to fail and get back up, but making sure they're taken care of regardless. Right. I'm going to look at some of these comments here. So I think I've missed some. There was a question that I wanted to get to. Can you connect the entitlement to this? Like, I've got to get it right. So the I've got to get it right is the righteousness, right? It's like to be righteous and say, no, I'm right. I'm right about this. I'm totally right about the thing that needs to happen here. Therefore, I'm super righteous and I'm entitled to this experience. It's like it's a stacking layer. So for example, for me, when I had a job and I was really good at my job, remember, I was really good at job security. Can't fire me if I'm really good at my job, which also meant that I couldn't be wrong. Like I had to be right all of the time and couldn't be wrong. And so in the process of having to be right all of the time, I got righteous and then felt more things were owed to me, entitled. I've got to get it right because my entire identity is based on the fact that you can't fire me because I'm so good at my job. I'm so good at my job that like this thing that I'm telling you, it's absolutely right. It's definitively right. You're wrong. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm right. You're wrong. Therefore, because I'm right, I deserve X, Y, Z. Oh, you're not going to give me X, Y, Z, but I'm right. And you're wrong. You're not going to give me X, Y, Z. Well, then I'm going to leave. Good luck replacing me. Do you see how the loop goes? Do you see how mean the loop is? Do you see how Regina George that loop is? All of us have an inner Regina George. And do you blame her? Her mom is drinking martinis and trying to be the fun mom instead of being the mom she needed. Let's take a look. My inner teen learned I can run up whatever bill I want. And if my parents can bail me out, it was the way of feeling loved and punished at the same time. Yeah. I think we're using different tones of I got to get it right. I was reading that as the fearful, oh God, what if I get it wrong? Like a fear of punishment. But it's the same, right? One is the performative aspect of it. The tender piece is like, I'm actually scared to get it wrong. Because then I don't have the thing that I'm getting. So for example, like I was deeply terrified to be wrong because that meant that I could lose my job. If I could lose my job, that meant that I could be unemployed. If I could be unemployed, that means that my parents' bills aren't getting paid. Because when I was 16, I was paying the utility bill. There was a tender truth in that. Absolutely. And there's tender truths in everything that the teenager says, but like they can't communicate it in a way that's honest because their identity is so important to them, right? Our egoic identities are established when we're like 8, 9. By the time we hit 16, it's like fortified. It's super strong. That's why like I have so much grace for the inner teen because it's like, this is your most fucked up. Like you're going to hit your peak of fucked up egoic tendencies. And then they may continue and linger into your adulthood. But generally speaking, you get more conscious and you're like, oh shit, that thing that I did when I was 17 doesn't really work when I'm an adult. But generally speaking, like the peak egoic tendency is like the 17-year-old you, right? The Rube Goldberg ego, right? And so there's some truth into the fact of whatever patterns you have, but it's just the truth distorted to be protective. There was truth that I was deeply terrified of losing my job. So if I had to get it right. And so if I didn't get it right, so much was riding on it. So therefore it's like, okay, well, if I can't get it wrong because my life depends on me getting it right, then I am always right. And that's how I'm going to live my life. There's no room for error, which isn't how life works itself. Because you're supposed to fall down. You're supposed to learn from it. And if the teenager is responsible for the matured sense of wonder into curiosity, the intention is that you're supposed to fall down. But what happens when we resist the learning from the universe? What happens when we start contorting ourselves, denying the lessons that we're here to learn because our egos think that they've got it figured out? Well, you do what I did. You create a life that's wrong. Wrong for you, not wrong in general. A deeply unaligned life. I was said to be the youngest CFO of an international startup. I had run reduction in forces. I have done the books for over 100 different entrepreneurs. I was on the path that was designed for me, that I specifically said I needed job security and therefore this is what I want to do, even though I didn't want to do it for myself. I wanted to do it for a sense of safety because I actually didn't trust I could be safe otherwise. My sense of safety, stability, security was coming from the external world. So it meant that I had to curate my entire being to manage the external world. Why didn't I trust myself? Because my adult was nowhere to be seen. So it's no shame on the inner teenager when the inner teenager is like, Mom, Dad, and no one's home. No shit, right? Of course they're going to go do these things. Of course they're going to sell their feet on the internet because it's easy money. There's no shame in it. They're just trying to figure it out because they don't know where the adult is inside of you. And so where is the adult? That's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. I don't know. I don't know where the adult is. I know that with practice, the adult gets stronger. I know that with practice, your adult takes care of your inner child as much as they take care of your inner teen. I know with practice, your inner adult has a conversation with your inner crone or a wise man. And I also know that without practice, your inner teen still goes rogue. So what am I going to ask you to practice? Reverence and responsibility. And those two damn words fuck people up for whatever reason. Reverence. It sounds like being in a monastery. That's too much effort. I won't do it. When really it's just having a deep embodied sense of respect for who the hell you are. The encompassing being you are, the full spectrum from your insanity to your sanity, from your craziness to your boringness, whatever it is, the respect for all of it. It's deeply reverent of me to release a program about the inner teen when I have so much love for the entitlement patterns, as much as it is deeply reverent for me to teach a program about anal play, right? This is reverence, a deep respect for the full spectrum of who I am. But it also means having a full respect for everything that goes into my life. If I respect me, I make sure that I am fed. If I really respect me, I make sure I'm getting to sleep. If I really respect me, I make sure there's a roof over my head. If I really respect me, I have boundaries. If I really respect me, I go receive the nourishment from my connections. If I really respect me, I see my life as not just a product of the things I do to make my life. If I really respect me, I will work in places that allow me to grow and be dynamic. But if I don't respect me, I already know the cost of that. What about responsibility? Well, so glad you had You wanted to know more about that one too, because responsibility is the one that really fucks people up, because our inner teen is like, the inner teen is kind of like a toddler that way, except the inner teen knows that eventually they have to pay for their own shit. The toddler has no idea what money is. Right? Responsibility is where the inner teen gets fucked royally, because their orientation to what that means is already distorted. They have responsibility mean that they're going to be on their own. An inner teen has responsibility mean that it's going to be they're at fault if it goes wrong. I'm responsible for my phone bill, so if I don't pay my phone bill, I'm going to get in trouble. But responsibility is just your ability to respond to life. Your ability to respond to the reality of which you're in. So if you are a teenager who has a phone bill that is due, your ability to respond is get a job. Right? That's it. It doesn't matter how you do it. You could shovel driveways if you live in Canada. You can mow lawns if you live in Texas. You can do whatever you need to do to make money. But that inner teen wiring that is so focused on ego and identity. You mow dirt in Texas. My apologies. Your inner teen that is so committed to the ego and the identity says, no, I can't mow lawns. No, I can't go work at McDonald's. Ugh. I'm so above that. I'll never do that. And now the pride kicks in. Now your ability to respond is subject to the belief systems that your inner teen has about how they should look. So now your phone bill is not getting paid. Mommy and daddy have to come rescue you. You're not resourced because mommy and daddy are the resource. You're not able to make your own money. You're constantly feeling at odds. Now your nervous system is wired. Now your nervous system activates your adrenal glands. We're not safe. Now your adrenal glands are so activated that you begin to establish a cortisol addiction. Now you need things to be stressful for you to feel normal. But your normal is basically a trauma response at that point. And the trauma response was created when you were like, oh, I can't be responsible. Right? So the inner adult who's like, okay, I've got to somehow parent this wild thing, this wild child, this rebellious, entitled, resentful, puberty-stricken inner teen. How the fuck am I supposed to do that? Well, this is what's great, is that parents don't know what the fuck they're doing either. I know this one's a shocker. And I know this one is like, no, my parents needed to know what they were doing because now I'm resentful because they fucked me up. And really, like, you got to forgive them, right? I wrote a post the other day about like, you really got to forgive your parents for not knowing what the fuck they were doing. Because like, you're not doing the greatest job either parenting yourself. Your best actually isn't good enough, and you got to give yourself grace for that too. So, are you ready to get it wrong? Are you ready just to like test out the water? Be like, okay, my inner teen is cranky because she's not eating, so let me just go feed her. Oh shit, she really doesn't like oatmeal. All right. Oatmeal is not the thing. All right, okay. Omelets with goat's cheese. I'm telling you this because this is literally my dynamic with myself right now. Omelets with goat cheese. Okay, she could eat that every day. Great. We're going to do that for now. We're just every day omelets, goat's cheese every day. Sweet. That satisfies her. She's not cranky. Okay, but like now we got to figure out lunch and dinner. Oh shit. I really have not been focused the last couple of weeks. Okay, but let's practice. What can we like guarantee for lunch? Okay, quinoa, salmon. Okay, I can do that every day. Yeah, sweet. And it's just iterative. Just figuring shit out. Because if you are going to abuse yourself and be like, I got to get this right, you got to ask yourself which part wants to get it right. Because it's not your adult. Your adult is just like, I'm figuring shit out. I got this handled. I can get it wrong and I'll get back up. Your inner teen is the one whose ego is like, I'm going to fuck up my inner teen. Your inner teen's already fucked up. Don't worry. We're all fucked up. There's one thing you need to know about me. I don't actually believe that like any of us are like capable of perfection. I think that what makes it perfect is the fact that we're all these varying degrees of weirdness and messiness. And that's actually what life is. It's an experiment of how do I ensure that I have the resources I need to live the life that I desire, because that's actually what wealth is. Wealth isn't just about money. Wealth is your ability to afford to live your life, not the life you were prescribed, not the life you prescribe yourself from a place of insignificance, but your ability to afford to live your life, whatever that looks like. Because when I look at my parents now, I see that neither one of them can afford to live their life. So they're living some false version of what the life that they're meant to be living. And my commitment is that I can always afford to live my life. So I'm constantly in responsibility, responding to my reality of where that's out of alignment. Oh, I need a massage this week. Okay. Fuck. For me to actually feel really good in my body, I really do need to get this massage. And if I don't, then I'm going to be under-resourced. Ooh. Okay. I'm going to book the massage. I'm going to deal with all the feelings about the money. 1 second, my computer's about to die. My computer's under-resourced. So I plug in, I take the time to pause, plug in my computer. I take the time to go get the massage. And then today I'm like, oh my God, my jaw is not clicking anymore. Allowing yourself to be resourced is a practice because it's also deeply confronting. Allowing yourself the things that you need is deeply confronting. That's why this work, whenever people are talking about wealth and they just talk about money, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Because it doesn't matter if you have all the money, if you are deeply unable to go outside with your friends, if you can't just enjoy a good book, there is no point to having money if you can't afford to live your life fully. And when I say afford, I mean that you have all the time and the money and the energy that you need. It is so easy to focus on money. Well, money is really the scapegoat. And it keeps you from actually looking at the issue. And why I bring this up is because July through September, I did what's called a money audit. And I teach this in bank. And your girl spent $2,700 on Uber Eats. Yeah. And if that wasn't confronting enough, it's not enough to just look at the dollar value, because it's actually not about the money. It's about, why did I choose to spend $2,700 with Uber Eats? And then all of a sudden, this big can of worms of like, oh my God, I don't want to cook for myself, because cooking for myself means I'm going to cook bland food, because I don't believe that I am worth eating decadent rich food by myself, because decadent rich food is meant for company and I don't have any company to share these meals with. So therefore, I'm just not going to eat at all, because I don't like bland food. Can you hear the actual desire? I just want to eat good food. That's it. Doesn't matter if there's company. I just want good food. But because the ego has all of these ideas attached to that, it goes, nope, there's no company. We're not allowed to have rich and decadent food. You either get bland food or no food. Okay, no food it is, but then now I'm hungry. I'm like, well, I want to cook bland food. Great. I think I lost my mic. So I order Uber Eats. And here's the thing is, like, Uber Eats is really not good food. Like, it's good at the restaurant, but then once it gets into like those styrofoam containers, it just tastes like shit afterwards. So it's like even worse. I can't tell you how many times I've ordered Uber Eats and like not even wanted to finish the food because it just tasted gross. So not only am I wasting my money, I'm under-resourced nutritionally because I'm not eating enough, but I'm also under-resourced with my desire. All I wanted was good food. And I couldn't even give myself that. And so then I got resentful at Uber Eats, but the truth is all I needed to do was accept that cooking for myself, these rich, ridiculous, decadent meals is actually the thing. And when I do that, the food in my fridge doesn't go to waste. I get to eat. I'm more nourished. I'm resourced. We use money as a scapegoat to not look at where we're spending our time and our energy. But more importantly, we use money to not look at why we're spending our time and energy that way. So let me read some of these comments. And for those of you watching the replay, you can let me know in the comments as well, like what's landing. I think I took my home for granted when I lived with my parents, and that's why rent has been the least relevant for me. Yeah, it's a really good one to look at. I've definitely said I'm never working in the service industry again. Yeah. My inner teen saying, I've got to parent the inner teen and fuck it. And I'm going to fuck it up. Exactly. Like that's not the inner teen's responsibility. An adult is like, okay. And yet my inner teen was trying to get all the power on its own. You know, I've got this. I'm gonna, it reminds me of like the little engine that could. Like our inner teen is just like, it has so much capability. And because it has that capability, it believes that everything it's on it to do. But just because you're capable of doing it doesn't mean it's yours to take care of. Right? I'm capable of birthing a baby right now. Not mine to do. To be really honest, not my thing. Capable of it? Totally. I'm gonna do it? Nope. Right. I'm getting that, at least for me, reverence for energy is way more important than money in terms of being resourced. Yeah. That's why all the cooking stuff was coming up in your feed. Yeah. If for those of you that are following me on social media, I've been talking about like cooking and food for a little bit now. Yeah, that's why. And it has nothing, and this is funny, right? A lot of people will have their food journey and it all starts from like, oh, it's just, healing my body. Mine is like, I spent how much? Money was actually what prompted my food journey. It wasn't like, oh, I don't feel good in my body, which I mean, it could have been that way, but it was only because I looked at how much fucking money I spent. God damn it. So I've been in the same spot. I forget that I love cooking until my bank account runs low and I have to cook. Exactly. So this is this is a great example. Thank you. It's like you love cooking and cooking feels good to do. The act of cooking is nourishing. It is resourcing you, but you don't allow yourself to cook until your money is low. But like cooking would actually keep you really resourced. And then the money wouldn't be an issue because you would have enough energy physically in your body to shift your money stuff anyway. It's like this big dynamic thing. Okay. Great. I can see why taking care of my physical body in a nourishing way is so challenging. From 16, I was out of the home and in survival mode. Ain't nobody got time or money to take care of my body. I got to work. Yes, exactly. When I was 16, I learned that coffee was a meal. Starbucks caramel macchiatos, like an IV, right? I only give myself parts of my desire and then I'll say, okay, I can only afford X. So I'll have to accommodate by that by only giving myself this part and just minimize the order. Yep. Yeah, great. Okay. So, basically this is the first transmission of a whole series that I wanted to do, to introduce you guys to a new line of work. So I want to welcome you to the new frequency, the Piggy Bank. So the Piggy Bank is an introduction to Bank, my 1-year minimum container. And it's like the beginning stages of you learning financial intimacy from like the adult mature lens without sacrificing your inner teen. because like we've had enough of the Dave Ramseys in the world who's like, don't use credit cards and like kills your inner teen in the process. And then wonders why it's not sustainable. This entire vision and the frequency of this is like, let's take care of all of us, like every part of us. And let's make it enjoyable. Like, let's like enjoy the process, even the gross, ugly parts, but like, let's just get curious. Let the inner teen lead the curiosity. Let the inner teen lead the pleasure, but let our adult do the resourcing of us. Right? So this container begins in January, and I know this is like a long enrollment period. And I want you to do this from a place of like having a grounded adult conversation with yourself. I don't want your inner teen to be like, we're going to do this. This is so much fun. She's in velour. You're doing it because your adult is like, yeah, this is how we're going to take care of her. I'm going to learn how to take care of her or him. It is a co-ed container. And we're just going to journey through it in a really soft, fun, like chunky highlight way. Okay. So we begin January 12th. The container opens January 7th. You can enroll at any time. There's no application process, which I know is very ballsy. For $333 Canadian. If you're already a member of Bank, it's already included, so don't worry. You can just be excited. If you're not a member of Bank, come on in. Enrollment is going to open in like 20 minutes and you'll be able to join us. And I think, you know, what makes this particular program really exciting for me is just the hilarity of it. You know, like when I was a teenager, there was this relationship to money that like, oh, I'll just make more money. Like the world has more money. And I've survived a recession already. And I've still made more money. And so it's like this place of like maturing our nervous system. So it's not the inner teen running it, but also like having the fun that the inner teen have always wanted to have, but we never got the chance to in the past. Right. So I think right now is a great time to move over to the Q&A session. Give you guys some space to like digest what's come up for you, what you're seeing for yourself. And I'll post the link to enroll directly. So you guys can, if that feels true for you, you can. The container itself is 5 calls. So it's like a real quick snapshot of what we're teaching in Bank. And I'll give you a little secret because you're here live on the first one. There's going to be a revision to Bank after the Piggy Bank. So it's going to be lots of fun. So why don't we do this? Let's go. I think I've removed myself off spotlight. Yeah. Okay. So for those of you that are watching the replay, this is where the video ends now because you didn't come live. You don't get the Q&A. I don't make the rules. I do make the rules. And that was a rule that I really liked. So if Bank is for you, great. But if the Piggy Bank is really calling for you, I'm going to encourage you to sign up. I'm going to encourage you to just like be a yes to it. But if you're not a yes, that's cool. That's cool too. Come to the next live transmission, participate in the Q&A then. Otherwise, I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your day and I will see you later. Okay. Cut. Q&A time, digestion time. Great opportunity for me to check in with you.